back to CREED News Hour, where our cryptid and paranormal stories come directly from you, our viewers. Settle in as we take you to a personal account of the things that go bump in the night.
Hey, my name is Turtle. Um, I'm a chef, writer, biker, poet. Um, in fact, I've done a lot of jobs in 44 years. I've been a soldier, a cab driver, security guard. Um, and this particular story relates to my time as a security guard at a hospital in Denver called Presbyterian St. Luke's. Um, I worked the graveyard shift, the night shift. Um, it was a pretty chill job. We generally had 4 officers on duty at any point. Um, and we called them Green 1 through 4. Green 1 was kind of the hospitality desk guy. He'd just sit at a desk and watch TV all night and direct people to where they had to go. Green 2 was patrolling around the building. Green 3 was patrolling the parking lots, and Green 4 was patrolling the interior of the building. You'd basically go from bottom to top, top to bottom all night long, making sure doors were locked, making sure people weren't in the wrong places, making sure everything was secure. This particular night, I was working Green 4. So my job was literally to just walk the halls, check doors, make sure everything's locked up, go from the bottom of the hospital, all the way to the top floor. And one of the crazy things about this hospital is it's been there for hundreds of years. Like, it's one of the first hospitals established in Denver. And so they've just been kind of adding on wings and floors and elevators and stuff. So it was very convoluted as far as like the floor plan goes. There would be a 4th floor or a 5th floor on one section, but not on another section. There would be a basement in one section, but not on another section. Some hallways connected to hallways that didn't seem like they connect, so you'd be on the 2nd floor walking down one way, and then once you turned a corner, you were on the 3rd floor of another wing. It was a maze, labyrinth. Um, on this particular night, I was working Green 4, walking the floor, checking the doors, saying hi to people as they walk by, and just making sure everybody felt safe and secure. And one of the areas I had to go to was the very, very, very top office in the hospital, which we called Maroon Bells. Maroon Bells is a area in Colorado. It's one of the highest spots in Colorado. It's an absolutely gorgeous view, but it's, I think, 13 or 14,000 feet in elevation. And that was kind of the joke, was you go up to this particular office, you're in Maroon Bells. You're all the way up there. So we had 3 or 4 different elevators in the hospital that you could use to go up and down different floors, but there was only one elevator you could use to get to Maroon Bells, and it was, quite frankly, the scariest of the elevators. It was never malfunctioning, it was never broken, but it was built in such a way that, like, the floor and the ceiling weren't the same size, so the walls kind of angled at you, and so you always felt a little kind of dizzy and weird whenever you got on this elevator. This elevator could reach pretty much any floor on any wing, with the exception of the 4th floor. The fourth floor in particular was the mental health ward, and we had one elevator that could reach the interior of the mental health ward. It was not the elevator I was on. But even then, you had to have a special key to get there. Now, there were other elevators that could go to different areas of the fourth floor of the hospital, but not into the mental health ward. So I'm doing my patrol. I get to this elevator. I get on, and I hit the button for, I believe it was floor 25. Very, 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 very top. And as I'm standing there waiting, the elevator shoots up, like not raises, just shoots all the way to floor 18, drops all the way back down to floor number 2, shoots back up to floor 15, and then it drops down to floor number 4, a floor it's not supposed to be able to reach, a floor it's not supposed to be able to go to, and stops just kind of dead. Doors don't open, nothing's moving, nothing's happening. And as I'm waiting to kind of decide what my next move is, a voice comes out of the little speaker box under the keypad. And it's a little girl's voice. And she starts singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. And then out of nowhere, the doors open on a floor they're not supposed to be able to open. And I stepped out, kind of looked around, realized I was standing in the middle of the mental health ward where I'm not supposed to be able to be. And I'm not gonna lie, I just walked right the heck out. I walked right past the nurses' station with 2 nurses looking at me like, "Where the hell did you come from?" I walked out the doors of that particular wing of the hospital, and I did not finish most of my patrols that night. I was shook. I'd never had anything like that happen to me. And it wasn't that much longer that I ended up leaving that job, because, quite frankly, that shook me up. It was an incredibly strange experience, an incredibly strange night. And one of the things I always come back to is I'm a skeptic. I don't necessarily believe in ghosts and hauntings and all that stuff. It's never been my thing. But I always come back and go, and it had to be a prank, had to be a joke. Somebody knew how to get connected into that intercom and to just play something weird. Somebody knew how to control the elevator from a different area. And I'm always reminded that I was security. I was the guy in charge. I was the guy who knew what we could access, how we could access, when we could access. And there isn't any way to access that intercom. It technically wasn't connected to anything. There isn't any way to control that elevator from the outside. I do not have an explanation for what happened. I hesitate to say paranormal. I hesitate to say any of that, but I don't have any other way of explaining that night. The way the elevator behaved, the fact that a voice came out of that intercom, the fact that it opened on a floor that it has no access to. I honestly still gives me kind of chills today just thinking about it. But that's the story. Standing in an elevator, hearing a little girl sing Mary Had a Little Lamb. The door is opening to a floor they're not supposed to be on. Shook me up.
Man, so I, for one, I don't mind elevators, but I have a thing about getting stuck in them, right?
Oh,
Because it's like how long are you? Well, I guess maybe it's because I'm claustrophobic. I really just don't like being in close. So that's probably one thing, and then you really don't have much control over what happens if something goes haywire. Like if it just automatically decides that it wants to drop, what are you going to hold on to really protect yourself from whatever impact you might suffer? So that's probably one of the main reasons why I don't really dig them like that. But for it to kind of jump here and there, especially on a floor that's not known to be really accustomed to going to,
oh yeah.
some people will probably look, yeah, some people will probably look at it like, well, maybe it's just like a malfunction with the wiring, or maybe it's an old building, old elevator. Maybe it just throw some WD-40 on it or something and call it a day. That's what it's. But for me personally, some things just can't be explained.
Oh yeah.
Uh, this this voice over the loudspeaker. Was there ever any reports? Well, now, granted, I know the type of location that you're in, but was there any conversations ever about a young lady or a girl having any type of history of unfortunate circumstances surrounding that area or whatever?
Honestly, nothing that I'd heard. I mean, it's a hospital, so I mean, people die there literally every day. People are born there literally every day. There's heartbreak and joy, you know, 2 feet apart at any given point. Um, I never heard anything specifically related to like a little girl or anything like that. Um, but yeah, one of the tricky things about you know specifically doing security in hospitals is that there's always something happening. There's always a new thing. There's always another problem. Um, and like I said, I'm not necessarily I'm a skeptical guy. I don't necessarily believe in all this stuff, but at the same time, the amount of both negative and positive energy that exists just in those locations, just by the nature of what happens in those locations, is extreme, to say the least. Um, but man, I'm not kidding. I felt like I was in the middle of a horror movie. Like it was like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you see on TV. A little girl's voice coming out of a loudspeaker. That's not normal. That's not, it. And yeah, it to this day makes my skin crawl a little bit. Um, But no, I never heard a specific story about a like a little girl haunting. Um, you'd hear from nurses and other security guards and stuff about like oh there's a gray shadow that walks down this hall, or there's a oh there's a man with a top hat who pops in and out of the morgue sometimes. But I never saw any of that. I never saw anything like that. This one, yeah, I ended up telling my sergeant that night, about what happened, and he kind of chuckled and went, "Yeah, it's a hospital. Strap in."
One of the things that you could never express to somebody is seeing something that you wish you never saw,
Yeah.
or hearing something that you wish you never heard, because it sticks with you.
Oh yeah.
You don't really know how it changes or affects a person's psyche. It might not throw you over the ledge completely, but it'll make you look at things a lot different. It really will. I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had a job there very long neither. I ain't going to lie to you.
Yeah, that was. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I still have dreams about it sometimes. Um, Specifically, the little girl's voice coming out of the speaker box, and then the the panic, and I'd love to call it something else, but the panic I felt when that elevator would drop. It shooting up was scary because it's going to a floor I didn't ask it to go to. But when it dropped, from floor 20 to floor 2, it I mean it dropped. And it felt like a full on free fall. And then it would shoot back up again. And yeah, you have those dreams sometimes where you're falling and it kind of jolts you awake. This is the one I have. I don't dream of falling out of airplanes. I don't dream of falling off of cliffs. I dream of being in that elevator and it falling, 18 floors all at once. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. If I was haunting a place, I feel like the elevator moving up and down and landing on a floor it shouldn't have, that would have been enough. That throwing that little girl's voice at me, that was a cherry on top, man. I didn't need that. And yeah, I'm always wondered who that girl was because she had something she wanted to say, and that was the best way she could come about it. And I don't know. I don't know if I got her message or if she never got it out. But oh, still messes me up.
To the people that watches this back and they hear your story and they have questions, what would you say to them in terms of having a personal experience like this?
Um, well, first and foremost, I just say keep your mind open. You know, I've told this story a bunch of different times, and I am aware that it sounds beyond unbelievable, almost a little silly. Um, but it happened, and like I said, I was the guy who should have the answers in that situation. You know, I carried all the keys to every room in that entire hospital. I carried all the extra security keys to every elevator. I knew where every speaker box was and what was and wasn't, connected or effective. Um, and like I said, when I say this elevator didn't have access to the fourth floor, I mean there wasn't even a button. It went lobby 2, 3, 5. You could not get to that floor from where I was. And I don't know, I just if you have an experience like this, you're not necessarily crazy. You're not losing your mind. Sometimes real stuff really happens. And you have to be willing to go, I can't explain this. And not knowing and not being able to explain something and not being able to understand is sometimes okay. You don't need to have an answer for everything sometimes. And this is honestly one of the situations that taught me that. If I can just accept that this happened and not know why. It's not necessarily a great feeling, but it's true.
Right. I'm with you. I'm with you. You can explain that a million times. It ain't going unless you've been in that position before. Then you just won't be able to grasp it fully.
Exactly.
Well, I don't want to hold you too much longer, bro. I do thank you for sharing that story with us.
Hey, thank you. Um, I hope people
It's,
get
it's,
something
it's,
out of
it's
it.
something that it's something that's going to go through my head a few times. I'm going to have to watch this back a couple times just because I want to see if I can put myself in that position just to see, just to kind of. But yeah, man. Thank you again. You're
Hey,
more than welcome to pull up anytime you want. You know,
absolutely.
let
Um,
the people know how they can reach you.
yeah, if you are interested in poetry, biker life, cooking, I share a lot of recipes and pictures of food on my page. You can go to Chatty Turtle McGee at Instagram. Um, Same handle on Threads. Um, and yeah, if you want to connect, if you need, yeah, you need something written, you need advice, you need yeah, to know how to change the brakes on your Harley, give me a buzz because I know a lot of stuff. Um, and yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to the Penn and Soul Awards. I know that's coming up here pretty quick. I think people should definitely be invested in that, interested, and check that out. It's one of the the first ever independent awards shows I've ever heard of, and in specifically for people in creative fields that have really been on the niche. You know, when people talk about poets, you know, they often think about, you know, lutes and lyres and medieval times, but we didn't go away. We're still here.
Right on. Right on. This is Kryptofcreed. Share your stories. Email me. Let's connect. You're not alone.